Hi everyone, and welcome to another book review. This one is for a book that I actually unhauled. So I did own the book. I do not remember where I got it, if it was from a Goodreads giveaway or if it was from like a free little library or something. Anyway, it is called Moti on the Water, or Moti on the Water. I feel like I'm saying that really weird. This was by Leylah. Let me grab my phone. So, Moti on the Water is by. Where is it? Oh, Leylah Attar. And this is an adult book, and it is a romance, contemporary romance, humor, chick lit. Those are the flags that it has. It's also classified as interracial romance or a new adult, but it's also an adult. I would say it's more adult. I don't really understand the whole new adult thing, but that's just me. So, adult. This one I really didn't know anything about going in. There is like 2 little explicit sex scenes out of the whole book. It would probably equate to a total of a page. It was that brief, but it was separated by a couple of pages. So now, Moti has a cousin who's getting married, and at first Moti is the maid of honor for her cousin, who is named Isabel. What they're doing right before the wedding is they're going on a yacht, so they are on the sea, and Moti doesn't know how to swim. So Moti grows up, her mother's name is Dolly, and they are Indian. Or Indian American. And Dolly has told Moti from like basically day one, if she's going to marry someone, he has to have 3 thumbs, and that there's a chance that when Moti dies, she'll die in the water, and if she doesn't marry someone with 3 thumbs, then Dolly will die within 7 days. So that's what she's been told over and over. It's referenced quite a bit. I gave this 0 stars. Now, I liked the stuff outside of the spicy sex scenes. The reason why I decided to give it 0 stars is I felt like it was just not something for me. So I felt like I could not be fair giving it a fair rating. Plus, I really didn't know how to rate it. So there were parts that had me completely laughing out loud. It was so funny. There are innuendos, like this part where she's starting to feel something get a little hard. Turns out it's not what she thinks it is. There's other references to like penis and things like that. Yeah. Now, there's 2 love interests in this. One is Nicholas, who happens to be, I believe he's Indian as well, or Indian American. And he has 3 thumbs. That's the whole purpose of that. She wants to pursue him because he has the 3 thumbs, and she wants to please her mother, and so that's who she's wanting to get to know. Now, the other love interest is named Alex, and he is Greek, hence the interracial romance. So you have Greek and Indian, or Indian American, and I don't know if he's fully Greek or if he's Greek American. I don't know, that wasn't really discussed. But he lives in Greece, so I'm guessing he's just Greek. So he's sexy, evidently, and Moti knows that. One thing to be aware of in this book is that Moti also has an issue with stealing, so she's a kleptomaniac. And she'll see something like a lost pair of keys or a lost keychain, and it's like, oh, no one's gonna miss this. Or she'll go around, it's like, no one will miss this 1 card out of a deck of cards, and no one will miss this little teeny thing or this or that. So she steals. Why? I don't really know. And it's just kind of a little quirk that she has, but you don't get really, honestly, any resolution with that. which makes sense because for something like that, it seems like it would be something that she would have to go to therapy for, but this is taking place over a couple of days on a yacht in the ocean in next to Greece. So yeah, the sexy scenes, I'm not going to say who they are with, but they are completely sexy and they are sexually explicit. That's just not something I want to read about. I don't like reading that. So I knew this was a romance and there was a chance going into it that it would have sexually explicit scenes. But I took my chance because sometimes when I see romance and I take a chance, it turns out it's clean. So sometimes you just don't know and it's not labeled clean or anything like that to indicate whether it's sexually explicit or not. So I took a chance on it. If, I will say this, if the sexually explicit scenes in this book were not there, this would have been like a 4.5, maybe 4.75 star book. But I didn't know how it's like, it just makes me uncomfortable with the sexually explicit scenes. I just don't want to read about it. I think it's because, I know it's because for me personally, sex is between you and your partner, and it's a very personal thing and not something that really should be shared with the world. It's no one else's business how you are having sex. Now, that's just me. And if you like reading stuff that has a lot of spice and smut or sexually explicit scenes, by all means go for it. Now, I will say this is not the most sexually explicit book that I have ever come across. Compared to like Talia Hibbert, I would say the sex is less in Moti on the Water. So there is that. Because I did read the Talia Hibbert books like Chloe Brown and things like that because I felt like I'm an adult. I should read that. If I want to read romance, I just have to accept it and read it. So I've read like more than 5 books that have sexually explicit scenes, and it does not get easier for me. I just don't like it. It's just something that I want to avoid. So that's me personally. Again, if you like it, go for it. I just don't want it. So, and I think part of it is because I had a friend in high school who started having sex when she was a senior, and one day she came to me and just started describing how she was having sex with her then boyfriend, and it's like, I don't want to know. So I think maybe I'm a little traumatized from that, who knows, but that's just not something I want. But I liked the writing style of this author. Now I'm just leery to pick up other stuff because I don't want to come across another sexually explicit scene. So yeah, and I'm on the fence. I thought about, once I got to that part about DNFing it, because I didn't know how much more of those scenes were going to be in the book, but I was loving the plot so much. I wanted to know how it ended, so I kept reading, hence why I came across the 2 that were so close together. But I love how it ended. I'm going to say that. And I just didn't like those 2 scenes, and I'm trying not to say it too much and dwell on it, but for me, it just takes down the enjoyment of the book, partly because anytime I read something that's sexually explicit, now this is, if you read something that is meant to have that, like an erotic book or something else where the relationship and eventually the having sex is all part of the plot, and it adds to the story, I understand why that would be an enjoyable read for a lot of people. Definitely not for me, but why that would be enjoyable. For me, when I think about Moti on the Water, if those sexual scenes were removed from the book, it wouldn't have hindered the plot or anything in any way. And it didn't benefit it, in my opinion. It didn't benefit the story. So for me, it felt like it just was not needed. It was, you could kind of see it. There was a little leading up to it, so I could see it kind of coming. But at the same point, it's like if I skim it, I don't know what I'm going to miss for when they're done having sex that's going to be important to the plot. And so I just kind of forced myself to read through it. But I will say, you know, Moti, she's a crack up. There's a lot of fun stuff. One thing I did like about the book too, that I think boosted the rating in my opinion, was the fact that with Moti being Indian American, there were, and I think she said she was moving to Chicago or she lived in Chicago. But again, it takes place on a yacht in the sea. But there were words, Indian words, that were thrown in the book. And there was a translation shortly after that. So it would say whatever the phrase is in Indian, and then it would say it in English so that you knew the translation. Loved that. And I loved hearing the other language, the Indian language. It was so cool, and I loved that. Plus, with this being partly in Greece, there were Greek words, and then you had the translation after that. So I thought that was very cool. I love it when books, when they have someone that can be bilingual and speak two different languages. I love it when they have that other language and they talk in their non-English language, whatever it would be, whether it's Indian, Greek, Spanish, you know, whatever. It's in there, and I really, really enjoy that. I just wish those sex scenes weren't in there. So because those scenes are in there, I will not be rereading this book, so I have unhauled it already. I'm letting it go to a home where someone will enjoy those sex scenes, or they won't care, and they will enjoy the book as a whole. So because of that, I don't feel like I can give a fair rating, so I'm not going to rate it, because I thoroughly enjoyed everything except the sex. So I don't know. I just don't know how to fairly rate it, and so because of that, it's a 0 star from me. But just be aware, I thought it was hilarious. There are certain parts where she's learning how to swim. There's a very sweet part involving a starfish. And one thing I really liked about this is that Moti kind of comes into herself. She has this part where it's like she's self-conscious about certain things. She does start to learn how to swim, and so she buys a bathing suit, so she's getting a little bit more confident. And food plays a massive role in this book, and I loved the description of like almonds and honey and the combination of why certain things are added to another, and the food kind of had like a magical essence. When people ate the food, they experienced kind of what I've heard people call foodgasms or something like that. But they would eat the food, and it's like their mind would go to something from childhood, and they would relive that. It would evoke certain feelings and emotions, and even if people were eating the same dish, some were having similar psychological or emotional experiences, but others would have something completely different depending on the food, even though they're eating the same thing. And that was really cool to read. I loved that aspect as well, where food was just kind of like this magical thing, and food was loved and respected, even though at the start of the book Moti has some strict stuff, partly because she grew up being teased, and so you do have the warning for that. She was bullied because, now I know I'm probably saying the wrong, but it's like Moti with a soft T I can't remember what it means, but I do remember that Moti with a hard T is something like chubby or fatty. And so as she was teased as a child growing up, kids would say it with the hard T and call her fatty and things like that. So she does have some reserves when it comes to food, like not wanting to eat carbs and certain things, but because of how magical the food is, it's like the cook on the yacht kind of gets her to let go of her trepidation with certain foods and be able to enjoy things. So that's something so you have Nikos again with the 3 thumbs. I will say that the chef is the other love interest. You do get that quite a early on because he is sexy, and he is the one that manages food. He loves food. He can evoke these emotions from people through the food. And his name is Alex. So, and he's the one that's Greek, and Nikos is Indian American. So, again, there were just some funny bits that had me laughing out loud. My mom was asking me what was so funny, but I couldn't really describe it because you actually had to read a bit of the book. I can't even tell you because I don't I don't really remember what made me laugh, but I just remember it evoked a lot of laughter and it was very funny. So it definitely is a humorous read. So if you want something that's romantic but has a lot of humor in it, definitely, if you're fine with the sex, you can check it out. So yeah, so that's really all I can say for this one. So let me know if you have read Moti, Moti on the Water, what you thought of the book. Did you thoroughly enjoy it? Or have you not read it? Or have you read anything else by the author? Definitely let me know. So that will be it for this review. I can't really think of anything else to say about the book. It was very funny and there were a lot of sweet moments in it as well. Yeah. I am remembering some of the funny bits now, like being slapped in the face with a bra. That's all I'm gonna say about that one. But yeah, it was just great. It was a fun experience for the most part. So yeah, so that's really all I can say. So until next time, stay true to yourself and enjoy a good book, and I'll talk to you later.